The next game we have is GIO Stadium down in
Sunday
Canberra.
game.
I really wish I was going to this game, to be honest. It's going to be the Brumbies versus the Waratahs. And, the most interesting thing for this is just going to be, in my eyes, how desperate the Waratahs are. But before we get to that, it's going to be the new injuries. There are none from the Brums. Ndolo, I think, was seen. They said he was nursing a knee injury a couple of weeks ago. We saw him icing his knee after the game as well. So he's obviously still managing that injury. So I do suspect if there's enough fit bodies around, you'll probably see him get a rest week.
Yeah, no, I got ahead of myself with the Sunday game. We've got this game still on Saturday, but I thought that was you guys treating him and putting some ice on there on the game last Friday, just in the in the change room.
I can't confirm or deny if that was happening, mate. So I think I'm just going to have to let that one go straight through the keeper. Returning though for the Brumbies, you've got Slipper, Valentini, Samu, White, and Tom Wright all coming back from their Wallabies rest weeks. Mm-hmm. And on the Waratahs side of things, you've got 3 returning potential injuries. So that means that there's only another 25 that they've got sitting out. That's Gleeson, hopefully back from his calf injury. Max Jorgensen's been managing this shoulder injury, and Mahi Vailanu a knee injury. Both of them were bracketed as coming back at the earliest this week. So obviously they're going to wait and see how they pull up. But as I've already mentioned, I think Jorgo will probably sub in for Ndolo if he's gone all right.
Yep, beautiful. And yeah, so this one, of course, the Brumbies, they rested all of their Wallabies to let them go down against the Crusaders because they just wanted to make it 2-0 against the Waratahs, their interstate rivals in 2023. So they take this rivalry and this fixture seriously. And yeah, I think we're in trouble, frankly, as a result of it. It's at home in Canberra. But I don't know. We've got some notes here that players still need a rest. Neville and Lolaseo. I'm not sure about Lolaseo needing a rest. He's
played every game, so I don't know. It really depends. What the All Blacks talked about, the fact that there's no difference if the player plays 1 minute, it doesn't count as a rest week. Whereas the All Blacks didn't have that rule, and obviously Lalesio's played a fair few games off the bench, 2 or 3 already, I think, this year. So I'd suspect that they can say, "Oh, look, we've managed his minutes and let him keep playing through." But yeah, I think you're right. Neville's probably the other one. It's just a question of who are they going to fill in there. Obviously, Frost will be at lock on one side, but then with Darcy Swain carrying an injury as well, it's there's not a lot of established options there for them.
For sure, Frost hasn't really had a rest either. He's played every game. It's just last week he came off the bench, but before that he'd been starting.
Yeah, he's like 14 years old. The guy can run forever.
This is true, and he's been amazing as well. So. Yeah, the other replacement, Jack Wright, had been looking pretty good. He looked all right. He came on. But yeah, they are missing all the other players that we're excited to see, like Tom Hooper and forget who else, the other lock stocks that they have. For this one, some pretty exciting matchups. Corey Toole and Mark Nwanganitawase is one that I'm looking forward to. Corey Toole just every week just proves how dangerous he is. He needs... I know my favourite added the old Dave Rennie statement about Filippo Daugunu can beat you in a phone booth, but what's smaller than a phone booth? I don't know. Corey Toole can beat you in your pantry. You know what I mean? It's there you go. That's
mate. Your pantry is gigantic. Don't pretend it's smaller than a phone booth. Come on, you live where? What suburb do you live in again?
Mate, the beaches. We've got Jake Gordon and Nick White. That's a fantastic battle there, the seasoned heads, and they'll have a good crack at each other. It's a bit Devo, actually, the new scrum rules, so we can't see them really cause each other a bit of mayhem. But and then Gleeson and Samu, this is the battle for Wallabies number 8. I'm really looking forward to seeing Gleeson back because for mine, he's the most exciting player in the Waratahs at the moment, and definitely, the biggest Wallaby watch for me. I want to see him. At the moment, he's my front runner for Wallabies number 8. He's looked that good. In everything he's been doing. So, yeah, what about you, Harry? Thoughts on the Brumbies?
Oh, look, I think they're just so well drilled, and the big difference when they played the Waratahs last time was this is already their second meet of the season, is that they absolutely dominated the breakdown and they slowed the Waratahs ball down. We saw what happened last week. The Tars, when they're not getting quick ball, they're not able to actually really take advantage and score points. So they're going to have to find a way to counter that against the Brumbies. and I'm just not sure how they do it. I think that it's going to have to be a monumental game, a huge game from Michael Hooper, who to this point in the season I think has been pretty quiet. And then your other options are Swinton, Harris, and Gleeson, who you mentioned. None of those guys are really established at attacking the breakdown. So I don't really know where they're going to go to try and get that kind of breakdown presence. It's just not obvious to me who in the 4-pack can actually counter that.
Do you think they run out Gamble? Like Gamble 6, Hooper 7?
I think he's still injured, man. I don't think they have the option of Gamble either.
No, okay. They can't take that gamble, as you would say.
Yeah, he dislocated his shoulder a couple of weeks ago, or a partially dislocated shoulder. So I don't think he's going to be right.
Right. Okay. No, well, that rules that out. Yeah, I agree. It's they don't really have the cattle. It's going to take a big, like, the breakdown menaces. It is going to take a big outing from Hooper. So I don't know. I guess they just have to offload Central. Just don't go to ground, boys. That's all I can think of.
Well, they get good ad line. They've got big carriers. So I was going to say, I think they just need to dominate the contact zone before the ball gets to ground. If they're getting ad line, then it's easier to get quick ball. But the issue is going to be when the Tars make those kind of little semi breaks and the Brumbies are just sitting on the hip of the defender to attack the ball immediately. I think we're probably going to see a fair few turnovers from the Brums this week. And the Tars are going to have to be very, very efficient at scoring within a few phases, get quick ball, and then get over the line. They, like you said, find the offloading and kind of strike. And that's not really been their forte. So it's pretty worrying, I think, to be honest with you. Also, we mentioned about the Wallabies rest week. This is Hooper's 6th game in a row. I suspect that they're going to say that they, with Gamble out for maybe another week or two, that they're going to have to just ask him to play through. But I don't think they have a lot of other options that can play at 7. Could they roll out Swinton, Gleeson, and Harris? Wouldn't that be a team to watch? Jesus Christ!
Yeah, wow. It's a time like this. Actually, you're really missing Carlo Tizzano having that third 7, that third fetcher. But he's obviously no longer with the Tars. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a Swinton Harris Gamble, Swinton Harris Gleeson combo. That'd be fun. But yeah, I agree. I guess last points with the Brumbies here on this one. I mean, Tool's been great. The other winger's been junk, and Tom Wright has been, has been good, but hasn't looked entirely settled at 15. What do you make of him in the 15 jersey?
I think all the Brumbies players have been very good at doing their role without necessarily standing out. But to be honest, he's probably not the player that I would highlight in the back line for the Brums. I actually think Tamati Tua in the last 2 weeks has probably been their most important player. He's been exceptional at getting over the gain line and really creating the forward momentum that I think we saw Arai Simone do so well for many years for the Brumbies. And, we talked about how hard it was going to be to replace him. And I think Tamati Tua is actually really growing into that jersey. So I think he's probably the most important man in the back line.
Particularly with Len Igatow out, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think he was so good last week that it really made up for Len Igatow. But obviously they're not probably getting the value out of Ollie Sapsford to replace such a class Wallaby at this stage, which is a big ask for anyone. On the Waratahs side of things, we mentioned Hooper, but in the back line, the big talking point surely is going to be Will Harrison coming back. They've been looking for an answer to their 15 jersey. Max Jorgensen may be a chance there as well. But what do you think? I personally think he's probably just going to slot straight back into the 15 jersey. We had a good chat to him at the game on the weekend. They said they put a cortisone into his toe because there was a bit of inflammation around the toe, and he was in a boot on the day. But he said he's very, very likely to be just taking that off and getting back into things. So I think they were just treating him conservatively. So he was going to be right to launch this week. And I'm expecting him to be back to 100 and to partner Donaldson for the partnership that works so well for them in the under-20s.
Mate, that's music to my ears, sitting on my fantasy bench just waiting to unleash him. But no, I agree. I mean, I think you're right. They have been looking for an answer at 15. And to me, you slot him straight. If he's fit and available, you slot him straight in. He's by far your best shot. And yeah, he really will bring an extra element to the attack that they kind of need. And that second ball player, like Donaldson's a 10 and he's not a 15 for mine. So Harrison is the only player that can bring an extra element to that attack at 15. So yeah, that's very exciting to think of. What about the centers? I see you've got some notes here about the centers.
Look, it's just going to be how they actually try and play through that, right? Like I thought Joey Walton looked pretty good in his first game out, but by no means has he owned that jersey. So they could still play the Edmed 12 jersey, but I don't think it'll happen. I think it's probably going to be Joey Walton again. And
we'll see all three 10s out there. Dono at 10, Edmed at 12, and Harrow at 15.
I mean, well, if you're playing the Will Harris, Gleeson, and Swinton back row, maybe that's not so bad. But look, the other change is Mark Dwanganita-Wasi's yet to have a rest as well. He's definitely going to be in that All Blacks, in the Wallabies, resting protocols at some point as well.
Look, I agree, but also by the same token, I mean, show me a greater physical specimen. The man doesn't need rest. I think he just rests he's resting while he's playing the game. You know what I mean? Okay, fine. You're showing me Joseph Suwali. You're pointing to him in your background image. He's a pretty good physical specimen too. These blokes are resting while they're playing. You know what I mean? So it's the nonsense. There's resting.
Yeah, look, he's obviously not going to be the bloke in the top tier. The Wallabies talked about 3 tiers of their resting protocol, and he's not going to be top tier. But it wouldn't surprise me if he was in the second tier and he had to rest a couple of games this week. So if Jaw goes back, I could see them going Harrison at fullback, Jorgo in his wing. He gets a rest. And then depending on what they've got to hold the bench spot there, and then that way you've got the excitement of Jorgensen and Harrison starting as well. That's how I think it'll probably play.
Yeah, well, Harry Wilson came off the bench last time for his debut, and he actually looked quite good. I thought. And sorry, and Ben, and we are actually running over Ben Dowling, who started at 15 last week. I actually thought he looked quite good.
I agree.
He caught all the kicks, made good kicks back. Didn't really make any mistakes. I thought he was, I don't want to say serviceable because I think that's just just doing the job, but I think he was better than serviceable. I think he was
Andy Muirhead-esque.
I mean, look, anyone, you're better than Andy Muirhead, so let's not make comparisons like that. But so anyway, we could just see Ben Dowling run out again at fullback.
Look, I agree. Actually, we did an interview with Pick and Drive at halftime, and he was the player I called out as just really surprised me with how solid he looked. But anyway, on that, Craigs, let's go to the tip, mate. What have you got? Waratahs by how many?
Waratahs, but no, unfortunately, I can't see the Tars winning this one. I'm going to say the Brumbies by. I'll keep it nice and low, though. I'll say the Brumbies by 5.
Wow, okay. So the line's 9.5.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to be loyal here, right?
You've done very well. I'm not that loyal, mate. I'm going to go not until this bloke, Joseph Swally, is in the team. Then I'll be loyal. Brumbies by 12 for me.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Nyup the Tars.